Hello, and welcome to Conversations. I'm Robben Torres, your host. Our guest today is Mr. Eddie Daniels. Mr. Daniels was an anti-apartheid leader and member of the Liberal Party of South Africa and the African Resistance Movement. Because of his opposition to apartheid, he was banned, detained, imprisoned, and banned again. Facing a possible death penalty, he refused to be witness for the state or negotiate with the national government for his release from prison. Mr. Daniels will share with us his journey through apartheid and his 15-year incarceration at Robben Island with Nelson Mandela and other apartheid activists, shedding light on race, politics, color, and reconciliation. Welcome, Mr. Daniels. Thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Our viewers have this rare opportunity to hear the first-person account of the story as an anti-apartheid leader. So let's begin with a little history on apartheid.
Well, apartheid is actually the sophistication of segregation. We've had segregation for over 350 years. When a black child was born, that child was inferior. When a white child was born, that white child was superior. And that lasted over 350 years. And the first time that South Africans were really accorded their full dignity was on the 27th of April 1994, when they received the franchise.
Okay, and you're from Cape Town, South Africa?
South Africa.
Okay, and what is your ancestry? Can I ask you that?
Yeah, my father was English, came over during the Boer War, was wounded during the Boer War, and my mother was South African. But in terms of the apartheid structure, they were both white citizens. This was my stepfather, by the way. My first father, my biological father, died when I was 7, and then my mother remarried, and I had a stepfather who was a very good person. And if I could have chosen my own father, I couldn't have chosen a better one. And but they both had, my mother and my father, stepfather, had white identification documents, and so did my sister, among others. But I and my brother, we refused to participate in something which we were totally against, namely white skin privilege or color privilege.
So you declared yourself a black person?
Yes, I state in the first page of my book that I'm a South African, but if I must be classified according to color, then I'm black.
Was that hard for you to do?
No. If I did not do that, I couldn't respect myself. So I did it with sincerity, because I don't recognize skin color. I don't see skin color, I see people. And I make the point to assess people on the basis of skin color is totally wrong, because skin color does not reflect intelligence or integrity or compassion or brutality. Skin color is just there, like flowers in the garden. All skin colors are beautiful. We, over time, have been indoctrinated that certain skin colors are superior to other skin colors. It's not true. And so flowers in the garden are beautiful, and so are all skin colors.
How did your mother and your other family members react when you classified yourself?
No, they just accepted it. Yeah, just accepted it. And we were a happy family in spite of all this. You know, lots of other families broke up when the light complexion people went over to the other side, namely the higher status, and they abandoned their darker brethren. We were not that. We all loved one another, and if my parents and others want to go to some white entertainment, that's fine. when they come home, we just love one another, and I just go wherever I want to go. And we respect each other's opinions, and that's it.
Mr. Daniels, you made mention about the Boer Wars. Can you please give us a little more detail about that?
Well, the Boer War was one war which lasted from 1899 to 1902. The British were wanting to take over the northern part of South Africa because all the gold mines were there, among other things. And so this erupted into a war. And my dad fought in that war on the side of the British, and he was wounded, and of course, you know, he didn't live too long after that, but nevertheless, he did live a little while. And so the Boer was an imperialist war where the British tried to take over other parts of South Africa because of the wealth that was suddenly revealed in the gold mines.
For children born into apartheid, can you describe for us the types of hardships they had to face daily?
Depends what children you say. Black children?
Black children,
Oh.
yes.
Well, again, you know, during the apartheid period, children were born into different strata of apartheid. The white child would be born into a state of privilege, and that would be his environment. He hasn't got a choice. He's born in there, you know, and that is why we don't hold it against people, you see, and we embrace people rather than criticize them. Often, you know, things are beyond your control. If you are so-called colored or Indian, then you are born into the second strata of privilege. But if you were African, you're right at the bottom. And if you were African, you know, everything was against you, you know. And you have to have a pass. You're speaking about babies, of course. And they will be born into an illegal situation where both their parents are illegally in the urban areas. You must have a document entitling you to be in the urban areas, otherwise you're illegal.
Tell me more about the pass. Did it have their picture on it, their
Yes.
address? Or
Yes, the pass had a
status?
picture on it, your address, your tribe, whatever tribe you belong to. Because when the government gave 1913 Land Act gave 87% of the land of South Africa to the ruling party, namely the whites, and 13% to the blacks, and the blacks were 5 times the population of the whites. The black areas was not enough to contain the so-called citizens, because they were all divided into tribes, and so the people were always illegal, you know, always.
So what happens when you're caught without your...
You go to jail. You may be fined 30 pounds. People couldn't afford to pay that. They went to jail for 3 months or 6 months, you know. And it was actually tragic, very tragic. I attended one big meeting. I gate crashed. I wasn't invited. I gate crashed this meeting. It was all religious ministers, and I got up there and I criticized the church for not doing much fighting against apartheid. And I told them, you know, I was chairman of the Liberal Party branch in Windermere at that time, 98% African. And I told them that just down the road, black families are being destroyed by the apartheid government because of the influx control. They must get out. They must get out. And I said, you know what, God put together, let no man put asunder. It's happening right here. What are you doing about it? I challenged the church, you know, because the situation was so bad, you see.
Did you do much traveling with the different organizations that you were part of?
Well, you see,
Traveling within South Africa?
I did not do much traveling because I was banned in 1964, which means I was restricted to a magisterial area, you know. And then shortly after that, I was arrested, and then I spent some time in prison. And when I came out of prison, I was banned again, you know, so it's another 5 years. So I didn't have much opportunity to travel.
With the prison term, what motivated you to be involved with such a such a movement such as apartheid that you didn't really, you could have avoided if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could have. Lots of people could have avoided it, but they did not. Mr. Mandela could have avoided it as well. And you know, Mr. Mandela's uncle, Kaiser Matanzima, he avoided it by siding with the government, you see. And well, he had deep pockets. And Mr. Mandela said, that's not the way. I could have avoided it, and but I couldn't respect myself if I did, because I always fought for justice and dignity and equality. You know? Even before politics, as a youngster, you know, against the gangsters who were parasites on other people, I stood up against them, just because I felt, you know, they were wrong and unfair. So I was involved because I wanted to be involved, just because it was wrong and I had to do something about it.
With the two groups that you were involved with, the African Renaissance Movement and the Resistance Movement, and the Liberal Party of South Africa, what type of dangers did you face?
Well, with the Liberal Party, you know, the danger was not so intense, because the worst, I could go to prison, the worst, and it would be a short term, you know, because we're invading white-only facilities, and often they didn't want to put us in prison; they just beat us up, you know, so. But with the African resistance movement, there, of course, we faced the extreme penalty.
Describe the difference between the two.
Well, the one is that you go to jail for the short time. If you go to jail, or things are made unpleasant for you, you could lose your job. When I was banned, you know, it was difficult to make a living, and so, but it's mild compared to the other one, because the ARM, the African Resistance Movement, you are detained under the 90-day detention law, and no one knows where you are, and you're in isolation, completely isolation, and then you're at the mercy of your captors, and they could torture you, and some people were tortured to death.
Tell us about the particular incident that led to your incarceration.
Well, it wasn't one particular incident, there was a series of incidents. Okay. Because we formed a sabotage group, and we obtained explosives from the mines without their consent, and we blew up pylons and what you call power lines. And we blew up the railway signal cables with all economic targets, and to stop the economy from operating.
And so you were sent to prison for 15 years.
Yeah, charged of sabotage.
As the charge of sabotage.
Yes.
But they say you could have gotten the death penalty.
Yeah.
How did you avoid the death penalty?
Well, the judge avoided it, not me.
Okay.
Well, you know, there was a strong possibility of having the death penalty, because one of our members, John Harris, was sentenced to death. He went to the gallows singing "We Shall Overcome," and he was 23 years of age. So we were, through association with him, there was this possibility. But so strong that one of my fellow members of my organization felt that he couldn't take the risk of standing trial because of the possibility of being sentenced to death. And he, of course, gave state evidence against me and others, you say. And so the possibility was there, but the judge, in his wisdom, decided that I should get 15 years instead of death, you see.
Was there anything about early release? I mean, so you
No.
served the full 15 years.
Full 15 years. There are no such things as remission.
No such thing. You served it all at Robben Island?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Robben Island.
Robben Island itself is quite a beautiful place, and you know, for a picnic or to stay over there for a couple of days, because the the nights are so beautiful, and the stars are so close on beautiful nights, and you have a wonderful view of Cape Town. But Robben Island was also the dustbin of history. You know, we were under the Dutch government and the French government, then under the English government, and each government of the day took the people they did not like and put them on the island, you know. So the island was home to African chiefs who fought the government of the day, to slaves, to people who had leprosy, because the idea was that leprosy was contagious and that it would die out on the island. People who were mentally retarded, and us. So it was really a dustbin of history. Today, Robben Island is seen to us as sacred, and it's a national and an international heritage site, and it's a national museum, and it's something which we treasure, you know. And in my will, I've got that I donate my body to the hospitals, but any part other than that will be cremated, and the ashes would be scattered in the sea between Robben Island and Table Mountain. So I hold both places because I love both places, you know.
There's a waiting list to get on Robben Island, isn't there? If you wanted to tour.
Especially in summer.
Okay.
Especially in summer. Oh yes, that's very popular. Very popular.
You met Nelson Mandela, Mr. Nelson Mandela, at Robben Island in prison.
Yep.
Tell us about the first experience meeting
Well, it was
Mr.
great.
Mandela.
It was great. You know, I was the only prisoner only member of my organization to go to Robben Island, so I was alone, quite lonely. Others came with friends, and so they could talk about their past relationship, you know, the good times they had together. I had no one to talk to, and no one to share, you know. So when Mr. Mandela came to befriend me, the very first day he met me, he was so good, you know. Yeah, I was a complete stranger. They didn't know who I was, where I come from, and so on. And there he was, and he embraced me, and I was thrilled to the core at this great man coming to hug little me, you know. Yeah.
What gave you guys, political activists fighting against apartheid, the will and determination to survive?
We felt our struggle was justified. And if we fell by the way, hard lines. Mr. Mandela did not expect to become president. I did not expect to survive. But we were fortunate. Fighting on the shoulders of our ancestors. Many of our ancestors died along the way. We were lucky to be the last wave to be there when we eventually defeated the government. Thanks to the assistance of the world, who was very good to us. Without world assistance, we would have destroyed our infrastructure. And today, South Africa is seen as the economic engine of Africa, thanks to the world. So we are indebted to the world.
You were asked a question earlier regarding what your thoughts were for the world stepping in, and if they thought, or if you thought, that we did something sooner, or could we have done something sooner rather than later?
Well, I didn't know the circumstances of the world at the time, but you know, hindsight is an exact science, you know. And you look at hindsight and you may put the blame here and put the blame there, but we're just grateful that the world came to our assistance. There were so many other countries, like Sharpeville, for example. It was one of many massacres, but Sharpeville came to light, caught the public eye. And there were many other struggles throughout the world, not only in South Africa, but South Africa caught the imagination of the world. And that, you know, enabled us to avoid a war of attrition, which would have come about if the world didn't come to our assistance. We fought in the first place without the help of Britain, without the help of the American government. We were prepared to take on the whole world if we had to fight, because we believe in our cause. And But the world coming to our assistance avoided us being involved in a war of attrition, which would destroy their infrastructure. And I wouldn't be sitting here today. But, so I'm grateful to the world, and I say thank you to the world through you.
Thank you. What do you think about South Africa now, and do you still live there?
Oh, I still live in South Africa. I had many opportunities to leave my country. I refused. And I love my country, and I see great potential for my country. I always compare today to yesterday. Yesterday, 30 years ago, we were on fire. All the countries around us in Southern Africa were on fire. Namibia, Angola, Congo, Mozambique, and South Africa. And today we're not. We're not on fire. It's no longer a war. We now have the job of building the peace. In my book, I say we've won the war, but now we still have to build the peace. You know? And so we're trying to build the peace. And sometimes we take 2-3 steps forward, and then we have a hiccup. We take 1-2 steps back, but we carry on. And we are no longer fighting a hot war. Now we're fighting AIDS, and we're fighting violence, and we're fighting corruption, and illiteracy, and so we are fighting, but our goal is still there. You know, we are hopeful, we are optimistic, we strive. We thought we would not defeat apartheid. I didn't think I would see apartheid defeated in my time. I did not think I would survive Robben Island. Mr. Mandela, similar position, but we went on because it was our duty to go on. And today we're going on too because it's our duty to go on. And we fight for the interest and benefit of our country as a whole.
You're about to celebrate a special day, your 80th birthday.
Yeah.
And you see that we still, in the world, have challenges
that
we have to overcome. What would you tell the younger generation of kids today how to overcome these challenges and become heroes, even when they don't think they can be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
what would you tell these kids?
Yes. You know, I'm no hero. I'm just an ordinary person there. But I would tell these youngsters I would tell them that dignity, self-respect are very important. You know, you can't buy self-respect. You earn it through the social involvement with your fellow human beings. And I would tell them that they must always try to do what they believe is right. Sometimes you make a wrong decision, but if your intentions were good, that's fine, you know. When you realize you made the wrong decision because of lack of information, etc., you apologize. But when you make a deliberate wrong decision, then of course, you know, you're wrong altogether. So I would appeal to youngsters, you know, to always try and do what is good. They have in turn the social norms given to them by their parents, by the school, by society. They must live up to those norms and values, and always just try to do what they feel is right, you know.
You have a book that's out.
Yes.
And it's titled, let's see, There and Back.
Yeah.
And it's on sale now.
Yeah.
You can get this at Amazon, is that correct?
Yeah.
Amazon.com?
Yeah, yeah. I would suggest Michigan State University.
Michigan State University.
Because Amazon.com, they, to my knowledge, have the second edition. And the third edition, of course, carries my tribute to my wife, who was both beautiful and brave.
Thank you for being with us today, Mr. Daniels. We really appreciated the visit, and thank you for sharing your story. And on behalf of Kansas City, Kansas Community College, the Intercultural Center, Media Services, we would all like to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I feel honored and privileged to have come here and to have been invited here. And I've been overwhelmed with all your kindness which you have shown to me whilst I've been here. And I thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us today. I'm Robben Torres, and we'll see you next time on Conversations.